at the Commanders' defense, what you see?
They play pretty aggressive. A lot more off zone, or a little bit off man. They come up and press a little bit here and there, but overall, I feel like if we just stack plays and do a good job on third down, we'll be fine.
We've heard from Justin and JJ today. Do you try to just stay quiet on game days when a quarterback and he's trying to get in rhythm and whatnot, or do you have to go up and say, hey man, I'm open on this play, that kind of thing? What kind of communication do you try to have with him?
Really, I just try to stay in my lane and do my job. The quarterback already got a lot of stuff going on. He's talking to the coaches. He got people in his ear already as it is. So I just try to go. If I go out there and just do my job and make sure I'm doing my job as the best I can, then it would make it easier for him.
Just get open.
Just do my job, yeah. Whatever it is, if it's a route, get open. If it's blocking, make sure I make the block for the back. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much whatever it is, just do my job.
JJ is calling himself a perfectionist and that he doesn't want to overthink, and that there's a freedom this week that KO said, just throw and catch, just to kind of clean the slate there. How helpful is that for you guys?
Yeah, I feel like ultimately that's what it comes down to. We all individually got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of nerves going through us, just trying to go out there and do the best that we can. So just putting it in a simple context like that, I feel like just makes it easier for a lot of us. It takes the pressure off of us.
Right, you can just go out there and ball.
Just go out there and play, like you said.
So when you watch you play, it looks like you're playing a lot of confidence right now. Tell me about that process and where you're at.
I mean, it's just a preparation, throughout the week, just building up, stacking up, and just being able to execute on Sundays, whenever the opportunity is present. All starts on Mondays, with just preparing, playing the game before the game, is what I like to call it.
They always talk about the game slowing down for you. Is that what it feels like to you, that process, that the game slowed down, or I guess it translated meaning you anticipate and kind of know what to expect?
Yeah, in a way, but it's just each week, as each game progresses, and goes by, you just get more experience and more comfortable. So yeah, I guess I could agree with that.
Not afraid to be aggressive either.
No, never that.
I was going to say, it seemed like you've sped up, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it was just the same thing, just to fall back on the preparation, just putting a lot of hours, a lot of work, on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, leading up to Sundays, and it's just let it loose on Sundays.
Is that physical work or is that study or what?
Everything, all around. It's extra time. In the weight room. Extra meetings with coaches in the morning, at night. Just a lot of more extra little stuff. That leads up. To the glamorous stuff. To Sundays. And going out and having fun with my teammates.
Is there a moment that for yourself, yes, all right, I'm here now and I'll just get better? There's that moment where it clicks for a pro athlete.
I mean, I always believed in myself since I stepped in the building, but, of course it's going to be a work of time, to get to where, anybody would want to be in their career. So, I just feel like, I don't really want to look at it as a Dallas Turner is here now thing or he's arrived, but, just another thing to build off of, going into, this week and then going into the next couple of weeks that we have coming up in the next season and stuff like that. And, I just feel like it's all a real snowball effect. Just week by week and never, just progressing too fast or, getting too high of myself, and just always being level-headed.
Do you feel like, though, you're just scratching the surface?
Oh, yeah, I feel like it's still a lot more meat on the bone for sure. It's just up to me to show up the work every day, and put the hours in, so.
How good does it feel that you're finding success now with all the work that you've been putting in?
It feels great, I ain't gonna lie to you, but just seeing a lot of stuff paying off, a lot of conversations with God, just giving him all the glory, day in and day out. It's just to see how I respond, because a lot of people get a lot of opportunities like that, and would get too big-headed and fall, or some people, would take advantage of the opportunity, and build off of that. So, I feel like this is just an opportunity for that right there.
Is there any certain piece of advice that was given to you that you're like, now I get it? Like maybe a player or a former coach that said something and you understood it, but now you get it.
It's funny you say that because Eric Wilson said something to me last week. It was one of those days, and we was talking, and he just told me that you never know when the harvest is coming, but the harvest is always coming. So, I felt like when he said that, I needed to hear that day. And that's probably something I'm going to just take with me for the rest of my career, because that's true. The harvest is coming, but you never know when the harvest is coming. So, I feel like that's just something that I probably learned the most from this year. Still a lot more stuff to learn. Still open to learn a lot more stuff, in year two. But, you know, I feel like that's probably the biggest words of advice I heard this year. Sure, appreciate it.
Guys, you feel like playing joyless murder ball yet?
Joy's murder ball. Yeah, that phrase rings a lot of bells. But, you know, that's always the goal, you know, to play joyless murder ball. You know, never really emphasize, you know, because that's already in us. But, yeah, so that's the goal for sure.
You know, when the harvest is coming, there's also the times before in the past where you had to plant the seeds first,
Yeah, you got to
right?
plant the seeds, you know, for the flower to grow. So.
Do you
Yes,
remember
sir.
back to those times thinking, when's it going to sprout?
Oh, yeah. You know, I remember around, you know, last season, you know, early in the season, you know, not being where my head is now, you know, and honestly, you know, just looking back at times like that, you know, just kind of preparing yourself for moments like this, and, you know, and now we living in the present. So now it's time to see, you know, what Dallas are going to do. So.
What's the focus this week from a pass rush perspective, whether it's Daniels or Mariota?
I mean, you know, it's both two mobile quarterbacks, you know, both very elusive, you know, fast quarterbacks, good on their feet, you know, just rushing, you know, together, you know, as a front seven, and, you know, and also containing the quarterback, you know, having history with Jaden Daniels, you know, from college, you know, I know what he could do with his legs. So, you know, and then Marcus Mariota, you know, the vet, you know, you can never sleep too much on him, you know, still mobile, you know, still athletic, is still a threat. But, you know, just preparing, you know, weekly and rushing together, you know, and containing these quarterbacks.
You got the strip sacks on Darnold on Sunday. How much do you guys and just the edge rushers feel like you guys can impact the game and turn it on its head and make an impact?
I feel like as edge rushers, you know, we want to try to impact the game as much as we possibly can. And, you know, I feel like, you know, every edge rusher knows, like, you know, the biggest play is a strip sack. So, you know, I feel like that's, you know, going out there, you know, getting strip sacks and stuff like that, you know, I feel like that was everybody's goal, you know, as a pass rusher to get strip sacks. So, you know, I feel like, you know, just building off of those weeks, you know, emphasizing, you know, that going into these next couple of weeks, you know, and just knowing that, you know, that the edge rushers could get strip sacks. So.
Defense has been playing well the last few weeks. How much confidence do you guys have that eventually it will turn into some wins for you guys?
I mean, you know, defensively, you know, I feel like moments like this, you know, is where we kind of band closer together. You know, when stuff isn't going our way, you know, when a lot of people outside are talking a lot of bad things about us, but, you know, on the inside, you know, we still 10 toes down, you know, we still holding together and very connected, you know, as a defense. You know, we love coming into work every day, you know, and seeing each other and, you know, building and working and grinding with each other every single day. And, you know, just knowing that, you know, it's gonna get greater later.